What's up, gold miners? Whoa, sometimes old habits die hard. What's up, investing legends? This is the inaugural episode of the Investing Secrets podcast. For the last 2 seasons of The Gold Mine, we've had some incredible guests on this show, and I'm excited to continue this standard of excellence that we've had on this program and raise the bar to new heights here on the Investing Secrets podcast that brings you the top alternative investing tips and strategies to elevate your investment game. And in today's episode, I'm super excited to welcome Dustin Heiner to the program. Dustin is a renowned real estate investor and the CEO of MasterPassiveIncome.com. As a real estate investor, Dustin has acquired over 30 single-family homes and over 700 apartment doors in his real estate investing career. After escaping the 9-to-5 and building true financial freedom for himself and for his family, Dustin chose to go out to the masses and teach thousands of students on how to emulate and replicate his systems so that they too can break free from the 9-to-5 and achieve financial freedom. In today's episode, we dive deep into some of these strategies and the blueprint that Dustin shares with his students on this episode. We kick off the episode with me questioning Dustin about all of the uncertainty in the marketplace right now and why Dustin is actually excited about all of the volatility, the increased rates. Most investors are scared, but Dustin is excited, and he shares the reason why in this episode. Later on in the episode, Dustin details the blueprint. He goes over his entire journey from his 20s into his 30s, the mindset, the methodology, the systems that he used to successfully escape his 9-to-5 and create true passive income that allowed him to achieve financial freedom by the age of 37. And to demonstrate to the audience just how duplicatable these systems and processes are, he shares with the audience how his 16-year-old daughter recently bought her first investment property using the exact strategies that Dustin teaches. In his words, if she can do it, so can you. And if you listen to the entire episode, you're going to learn some of the mindset and methodologies and strategies that Dustin uses and leverage these secrets so that you can do the same. This is personally a full circle moment for me because Dustin's podcast was one of the very first podcasts that I listened to when I got into real estate investing many years ago. And to have him be a guest, and not just any guest, but the inaugural guest of the rebranding of this podcast into the Investing Secrets podcast, I think is very fitting, and it's a serendipitous full circle moment for me. So without further ado, everyone, I'm super excited to welcome to the program, Dustin Heiner.
Welcome to the Investing Secrets podcast.
Dustin, welcome to the Investing Secrets podcast, my friend. Ready to step inside the vault with me?
I am, Danny. Thank you so much for having me on, buddy.
Sweet. Yes, I'm excited to have you on, man. Haven't heard about, actually, you were one of the first real estate investing podcasts that I listened to, like way back in the, like many years ago. And so,
awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of like a full circle moment now to have you on as a guest of my podcast. So yeah, dude, excited to chat with you and see where your head's at now that we're in middle of 2025, going into 2026, lots of uncertainty, lots of kind of weird things going on in the real estate sector right now. Yeah?
I would say it this way, that if you don't know what you're doing, which I know you and I both do, and hopefully your listeners know what they're doing, with uncertainty, honestly, I think comes only when you don't know what you're doing. You get really uncertain. Like, I'm very certain. Mm-hmm. I know you're very certain you're investing, you're raising capital, you're buying properties. And so with uncertainty comes making a lot of money. And so in 2006, when I first started investing, this was before 2008 in the crash of 2008. So I started investing back in 2006 and buying properties for cash flow. And then 2008 and 9 happened. So many real estate investors were going bankrupt. And, what they were doing, they were hoping for appreciation. It's called speculating, buying it, hoping that the value goes up. Well, they got hurt, bankrupt. And I was worried, but I didn't. In fact, I made more money when everybody was going bankrupt. And I was like, what's going on? But I realized what I was doing was I was investing for income, cash flow every single month. And so no matter if the market goes up, if the market goes down, or if the market goes sideways, I don't care because these are buy and hold properties. So hold on them and give them to my kids in the future. And so sadly, when people were losing their homes, just like maybe it might happen in the future, you never know, like the uncertainty. Sadly, if they go into foreclosure, they have to live somewhere. So they become renters, and then my rents just go up. So we can definitely get into uncertainty and how you can not be uncertain, but be very certain. In fact, I'm so excited couple more quick things I'll say. I wish interest rates would go even higher, which most people would never say that, but I'm like, I want interest rates to go higher. Another thing is I am buying lots of properties, and I just closed on, and 2 or 3 months ago, closed on a 325 unit apartment complex. I think it was a $35 million purchase price. We bought it for 60% of market value because all the uncertainty are hurting other people, other quote unquote investors who don't know what they're doing. Whereas investors like us, if we know what we're doing, we're going to be able to jump in and make so much more money with this uncertainty.
Well, it's the, I've said this quote several times now on my show, but it's that age-old Warren Buffett quote, right? It's be greedy when others are fearful and fearful when others are greedy, right? And so I think we're in that trough right now. We're in the valley of despair where there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of fear. And that's when, individuals like yourself can go out there and take advantage. So speaking of the apartment complex that you're working on right now, how are you structuring that? Is that Dustin Heiner, or is that a syndication, or like kind of how you structured that acquisition?
Yeah. So, and I appreciate you listening to my podcast I started back in 2015, 2016, just teaching people how to do it. Because I quit my job in 2016 and I just wanted to help people. So I started the podcast. And so fast forward now, I have 30 plus single family homes, short-term, mid-term, long-term properties, have 725 total apartment units, 2 large apartment complexes totaling that. And with all the people I've coached thousands of people to invest in real estate. I mean, it's so much fun. I make my money through real estate. So it's like I have free time, let me help people. And so because of that, I've always had people listen to my podcast, reach out to me, Dustin, I want to invest in your deals. Like, I want to invest with you. And I've never done it because it's just me and my wife. We have our own properties. Yeah. My bread and butter is residential, 4 units and below. Love that because I get cash flow. I'll give those to my kids. They'll make cash flow. In fact, my 16-year-old daughter just bought her first rental property and it's making $350 a month in passive income. And so I have 5 kids now, very blessed with 5 kids. And so Lord willing, every single one of them by 16 years old, they're going to buy their first property and continue to buy more. Now, getting back to the idea of the apartment complex. So after coaching thousands of people to invest and telling them, no, I don't want you to invest in my deal, or like, I'm not opening it up. I had some partners of mine find a really large, it was last year, a 350 unit apartment complex near Nashville. And they said, hey, Dustin, we need to raise capital. You want to be a part of it? And not necessarily syndication. I'm an investor. Like this is my personal deal. I'm one of 3 total other partners. So 4 partners total that we all were buying this property. And I said, you know what? I have had lots of people listen to my podcast, my YouTube and coaching students that want to invest. Let me just reach out instead of me just, being an investor myself, being a general partner, doing asset management. Let me just see if anybody else wants to invest in my deals because I've helped so many people. I put out a couple podcast episodes, sent a couple emails, but that's it. I didn't really do a whole lot of work. And I raised $1.5 million myself. My other partners, we raised a total of, I think, 10 million. And then recently, 3 months ago, we bought a 325 unit apartment complex in Chattanooga. I just went out to the same investors, didn't even, talk to my list or everything, but we raised in 20 days, $10 million because it was such an amazing deal. We can sell it right now as we bought it for $110,000 per unit. We bought it for $60,000 a unit because the seller didn't know what they were doing. They inherited the property from their parents, and we bought it, and it's amazing. But it's because I've been helping people for so long that it just makes it easier for me to go out and find people and say, hey, yeah, we want to invest with me. And they say, well, Dustin, I've been like every single one of them. I've been listening to you for 3-4 years. Listen to every single podcast episode. I trust you. Yes, let's go ahead and do it. And so that's how I go from residential now in apartment complexes, but I still love all asset classes. I'll do all types of asset classes. In fact, I just bought 3 single family homes about 4 or 5 months ago.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. And I mean, kudos to you for building that community, right? And then, the fact that you haven't necessarily gone out up until this point to raise capital is kind of surprising because you'd think like, well, with all these people in my database that I've already built trust with, I mean, you could really probably do a lot of damage with that, but I can also understand the other side of it where like a lot of people like it's just separation of church and state, right? Well, this is my audience and this is that, and this is for me, my investment strategy. Yeah,
for me, it might be different than other people, but what it really came down to, I just really enjoyed coaching people. I really loved showing people that they can get their own properties. And that's what I really, really enjoyed, because I had people even ask me, hey, Dustin, can I buy your properties off of you if you're going to sell? Like, turnkey. And I know lots of people that created their own turnkey companies. They buy properties, fix them up and stuff. I didn't want to do any of that stuff. I love my calendar is blank on like my normal calendar. It's absolutely blank because I don't want to do anything. I quit my job, and I love the term successfully unemployed. So I became successfully unemployed in 2016 when I was 36 years old, 37 years old. And I didn't want to work anymore. And so I did not want to create something that I had to have constantly working all the time. In fact, all the 30 plus properties that I own for my family, I maybe work 30 minutes a month on all my properties, because what I do is I build a business. I make sure that I have experts run the business for me. And that's how I become financially independent. Now I have properties making me $3,000 a month in passive income. I got 30 plus properties and they're all making me money. So now it's just like, how do I help people, but not put so much on my calendar? And, what it really came down to is one quick last thing is I never wanted to lose somebody else's money, because I've lost my money, and it's a bummer losing my money. I've lost plenty of money in the past. But just who I am. It's hard for me to take people's money, because like, man, it would kill me if I lost your money. So now, because these deals were so amazing, it's like, we can't lose money because the purchase price. And you brought up a quote from Warren Buffett, another great statement. I don't know if Warren Buffett said it or somebody else, but you make your money when you buy, whatever it is, stocks, real estate, you make your money when you buy. And we're buying 60% of the market value. It's like, we can't lose with this. And where you find other people who are doing apartment complexes investing or, syndications, they're really hurting. In fact, I'm buying properties off of those people for the last 3 or 4 years, have been raising capital over. And the sad thing about this is, like, people are getting hurt right now because the interest rates are changing, which in fact, I want interest rates to go up, because then more people who didn't know what they were doing, they're going to get out, and I'm going to be able to buy those properties pennies on the dollar.
Yeah. And it's definitely a time to be opportunistic if you have that ability, because there were a lot of, I don't want to say bad players, but ill-equipped players, right? That were playing in the earlier part of this decade. And now, the tide went out and they don't have any. Right. So then
there are lots of them. And I don't know if they did it ill-willed. They just didn't know what they were doing. And that's one thing I like syndicators. What syndicators do, they're just salesmen. That's really what it comes down to. I'm an investor. And so I just say, hey, if you want to invest in my deal, you can. But there are so many syndicators that came on the market in the last, 4 or 5 years. And what they try to do is just try to find people to invest in a deal so they get a cut of that deal. Not saying it's bad, but honestly, they just kept chasing more deals, and they have to keep getting more deals in order to make money. Because, in fact, one person I know, they had 3,000 units. And I said, oh, great. When were you financially independent? They said, oh, I'm not financially independent. I'm like, with 3,000? I'm like shaking my head. 3,000 units. You're not financially, how? That's so much headache. Like, how do you do it? I got 30 properties. In fact, there's 20 properties, single family homes that I got. That was financially independent, and I don't have to do anything anymore. And so, so for me, when I look at residential, 4 units and below, that's how you get financial independence. That's how you get wealth creation. And then you play Monopoly. And this is what I've done. Now I play Monopoly, and then I take, because I have so much money coming in from my financial independence, from my residential 4 units and below, that I have so much extra money that it's like, now let's buy apartment complexes. Let's get other investors in the deal. And what it comes down to is just playing Monopoly. And so once you have the freedom, then this is my game plan, and what I've coached thousands of students else to do is we get financial independence first, and then we go after the larger deals, because our money is taken care of, or our expenses and our lives are taken care of with our residential 4 units and below.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense intuitively, right? Because you want to build, just like anything, right? You want to build a house on a good foundation. You want to build your financial future on a good foundation, and you want to have enough income to support your basic needs, right? Before kind of going out there and swinging for the fences. And honestly, I think that's a valuable lesson, and one that I wish I had really, as a young guy, in my early 20s, instead of swinging for the fences every single time, right? Because it's
I love base hits. Base hits and doubles. Those are phenomenal.
But it's a double-edged sword too, right? Or it's a two. I don't know what the right term or phrase is there, but it's like I could see it both ways. In one sense, it's like, well, there's really like little to lose by swinging for the fences continually, right? In the earlier parts of your like 20s, 30s, and then at some point, life kind of hits you in the face. If you don't do that, you kind of like you feel like you're behind. Versus if you just take the time to kind of build that consistency, build that foundation, then you can take infinite shots on goal later on because you already have that foundation. You've already got
that's a fantastic
stability.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. And that's how I'm able to now wait. Like I don't have to force deals anymore. I got so much money coming in. Deals come to me all the time, which is phenomenal. And like these are large apartment complexes. I don't have to be forcing those swing. Now they just come to me, which is fantastic. And I can wait for that. But I didn't start there. Most likely all your listeners are not starting where they can buy apartment complexes and all that sort of stuff. In fact, if you're going to do it right, you're also going to know what you're doing. I didn't start there, but I was actually very, very poor growing up. My parents, we lived in a 2-bedroom, 900 square foot house. That's how I grew up. I didn't know I was poor. It's just, my parents were fantastic. And, but I went to school, got good grades, and then went to college and got in thousands of dollars in debt. And I got the most stable, secure job you could ever think of. Didn't get into real estate investing, but then eventually I bought one rental property back in 2006 and it started making me money. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like I don't do anything. The property works for me. Let me go ahead and buy more and more. And so after that, I was just able to get enough financial independence, or basically have the ability for money to come in without me working so I can become financially independent. And now, like I said, I don't have to force deals. I don't have to forcefully swing for the fences, but you're right. If you're 20 plus years old, then I think you should be hustling, which I still hustle. Don't get me wrong. I still hustle. But at the same time, I like your idea too, when you said, like, if you have that foundation under you, then you become like Babe Ruth, where you start swinging for the fences and you hit more often than not.
100%. And it's difficult. It's difficult because like as a younger person, you often lack the maturity, right? And the people that have your best interest at heart, they're the people that you least want to listen to, like your parents, right? Like you're like, I don't want to listen to this garbage, right? I'm going to listen to so-and-so on Instagram who's telling me that if I do this drop shipping thing, I want to make millions of dollars.
Totally.
Just want to sell you a course, buddy.
That's what they do. And you know what's fun is the longer I do this, I started Besta back in 2006. The more, I guess, systematized that it gets, where, well, also with me, podcasting for, almost 10 years now, teaching people how to do this, to coaching over thousands of people to invest in real estate. It's so systematized because I realized it's actually very simple to invest in real estate. It's not complex. It's not rocket science. Like, you don't have to be an engineer. In fact, I'm not that smart. So for you listening, more than likely, you're much smarter than me. And if I'm able to figure it out, then you're able to do it as well. Like if I'm able to do it, my daughter, who's 16 years old, is able to do it. In fact, when you mind if I share you a quick story of what really got me to investing in real estate?
Please. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, awesome. So
go for it.
Yeah. So I was following the path that we are all taught. So we're all taught, go to school, get good grades, get hopefully get into a college, university, get in thousands of dollars into debt, and to get a piece of paper called a degree. And I'm following this exact same plan. And then you take that degree, you try to get a quote unquote career, and then work 40 plus years of your life, and then retire at 65, 70 years old, and hopefully live on 40% of what you managed to save that entire time. Working a JOB is what I love to call it. If you listen to me, I love the term JOB because you're working a job and you're living just over broke. Absolutely. That's just the way it is. So I'm following that exact same path. And I bought one rental property, and that property started making me money. I thought, my goodness, I need to be an investor. Well, you know what happens? Life started getting in the way. Got a full-time job, full-time family. We have 4 kids. But this is what shoved me to becoming a real estate investor. So my wife and I started having kids, kid after kid. Eventually we had our fourth child and I went on paternity leave. This was dad sees home the mom, changes poopy diapers and all the good stuff and bonds with the baby. Well, after 2 weeks, I go back to work. And in that same week, I go back to work. I get a call from my boss's secretary, like the top dog. She says, Dustin, would you please come to the office? I said, sure. And I paused for a second. I thought, why in the world are they calling me to the office? I've seen plenty of movies. Friday at 3:30 is not a good sign. And I started thinking, before I went on paternity leave, there were some rumors that there could potentially be layoffs because there were some budget issues in the county. I shook it off. I said, there's no way. I've been here 10, 15 years. My boss is saying I do a great job. I get raised all the time. I should be fine.
Yeah.
So I get up and I walk down the hallway to my boss's office. And honestly, Danny, this hallway isn't very long, but it's kind of short. But every single step that I took, it felt like the hallway got longer and longer and longer. And it felt like my feet became lead bricks because the thought of potentially losing my job was starting to really crush down on me. Well, I get down the hallway and I turn the corner and I see my boss's door. His door is closed. I see his secretary there, a super sweet, nice old lady. She says, Dustin, would you please have a seat? So I go take my seat. And while I'm doing that, she's looking at me, trying to console me with her eyes and kind of sheepishly grinning because she knows everything about what's going on. I know nothing about what's going on. So I go and I take my seat. And remember, I'm getting this really stable, secure job, working for the local county government in California, doing IT. Really stable, secure job. But I sit there and I start thinking about my life. This entire plan that other people told me that I was supposed to follow. If I get laid off right now, did I just waste my life doing this? And then I thought, oh my goodness, we just had our fourth kid. If I can't feed my family, does that make me a failure as a father? Does that make me a failure as a husband, as a man trying to provide for his family? Well, as I'm sitting there, my hands get all clammy and my forehead gets all sweaty because the nerves are just crushing me. Then the door of my boss's office opens up and out walks a coworker of mine with a piece of paper in her hands. She's noticeably distraught and upset. She passes by me and my boss says, Dustin, would you please come to the office? So I get up and then I go into his office and I get laid off. And remember, this is the government. Nobody gets fired or laid off the government, but I did. This is the reason why I tell the story. So take that layoff notice. I go back to my desk and I sit down and I realize two things. Number one, I need to get another job. I need to find a way to provide for my family. So I was really blessed, praise the Lord, to find another job in the same county. A different department wasn't having those budget issues, so check. But then the second thing that I realized was I need to make sure that this never, ever happens to me again. I need to make sure that nobody can take away my ability to feed my family. So right then and there, I realized I needed to be an investor. And whenever we would ask the question, what do you do? All of us, we reply, well, with our job. You know, I work for the local county government doing IT. Well, when we reply with our job, we're projecting out to the world that the value that we put on ourselves comes from our job. I realized my value doesn't come from my job. My value comes from my God and from myself and from my family. So right then there, I started telling everybody I am an investor. It may so happen that just about 100% of my money comes from my job. That's now my part-time job. I'm a full-time investor. So fast forward the story, I started buying property after property after property, each one making me $500, $600, $800 or more dollars in passive income. Eventually I had 20 properties at the time. And I realized I'm losing money working here. So last quick part of the story, I went to my new boss, good boss and all. I said, I'm laying you off, kind of jokingly. We both laughed. He says, what are you going to do? And I said, I don't have to do anything. I own real estate that makes me money. So I'm financially independent. So last quick part of the story, I would walk to and from my car to my job every day, 1.5 miles each way. I've done it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
I felt like I was walking on clouds, walking back to my car for the very last time because I knew I would never, ever need any job ever again. And so for you listening, I want you to realize if you're working a job, you're living just over broke, number one. But number two, you are not getting paid what you are worth. You are worth so much more than anybody could ever pay you. And this is how you'll know. Your boss is paying you just enough to keep you working without quitting, but not so much money it takes money out of their pocket. If they paid you what you were worth, they would go broke. So instead, what I love to do is I create passive income or cash flow. Passive income, that means you work one time, you get paid over and over again, hopefully perpetually. If I buy one rental property, that's going to make me money for the entirety of my life and I'll give them to my kids. And so that's what I suggest now. Imagine you had cash flow, like you said, Danny, having a foundation, built under you. Now I have that foundation of cash coming in every single month. That then I have 40 plus hours of my life that I can build businesses, which is what I do. I think we have 4 businesses now that make us money and invest in real estate. Now I can swing for the fences because I don't have to worry about my money coming in anymore. Does that all make sense?
Yep. Absolutely. It makes a lot of sense, man. First of all, amazing story. It's interesting because I share we have a shared experience here, not direct experience, but the reason that I became an entrepreneur, the reason that I never wanted to work for anyone but myself, even from a young age, was because my dad worked for a Fortune 500 company and, slaved away for 35, 36, 37 years and never got paid nearly what he was worth. Right. And he didn't really, in my opinion, you might have a different opinion, but like, I never really thought that he advocated for himself the way that he should, or, kind of played the corporate game the way that you should, right? There's strategy there. A lot of people are starting to wake up to the fact that like, it's actually smarter to switch jobs every 2 to 3 years.
Money to switch jobs. You're 100% right.
Right. And so like people are starting to wake up to that now. And I think that if corporations get smart, there's things that they can do to kind of like claw that power back in a positive way that benefits everybody. But the reason I bring this up is because I 100% agree with you. Should everyone work for themselves? No, but I think that everyone should seek to become financially independent from their employer, right? And find ways to create that passive or create an investment portfolio that allows them to live more freely, right? Because can everyone become create enough financial independence or cash flow to like completely rid themselves of their 9 to 5? Probably not. I don't think like the economy would like we would literally have no economy if that happened, right? Like if everyone was like free and everything, like no one would work and then we'd be screwed. But, it's the same concept. You are now doing these big apartment buildings because you have the financial stability to like be able to go out and do that. But you kind of get to do it on your own terms and you're, not necessarily, you're playing free, right? And playing free, playing loose is the best kind of, like you ever see a team, they go up like 7-8 runs or football game, they get up, couple scores and all of a sudden they're making plays that like you never thought they'd be able to make. And it's because
you could take chances.
Exactly. They don't have much to lose at that point. And so I think it's the same concept where if you can create a life where you don't have a lot to lose, in the day in and day out and choose to do what you want. And interestingly enough, I think that, technological advancements like AI and everything are going to kind of force that on people regardless. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting, man. It's definitely a unique time in our history where information is becoming readily available. Dustin, how crazy is it that we're having this conversation right now? Because like 30 years ago, it was just like it's like this great awakening. And like this shit didn't exist 20, 30 years ago, the kinds of conversations that we're having right now.
Absolutely.
So it's just wild. It's wild to me. But it's also exciting. On the flip side, here's what I know. And then I'll ask you the next question, but just stream of consciousness here. You probably know who Gary Vee is.
Yep.
It's interesting because I think that like shows like this, we want to make a difference. We might want to make an impact, but statistically what I know, Dustin, is even though you just shared all that, and even though you put out all these podcasts and you share all these secrets and, I've got this podcast called Investing Secrets and people listen to it because they want to learn all the knowledge. How many of them are actually going to do something?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's like, yeah, we're preaching, right? So I think the punchline here is like Dustin just gave you an inspirational story. It's not your story, but it is a call to action, right? And you have to take steps to get there. It's not going to happen for you. You have to take control and actually do something
let me give
about
you
it.
two different either quotes or one quote and one proverb. So the quote is, A smart man learns from his mistakes, which is you should learn from your mistakes, but a wise man learns from other people's mistakes. Like 100%. You should not have to go through what I went through because I just told you what happened. It's going to happen. If I work for the government and still got laid off, lost my job, which it doesn't happen ever, but I did. It could happen. And here's another saying. I'll add one more in there. It's not if you lose your job or get fired. It's when, because it will happen. Trust me. And when I was young, I was, it's never going to happen. I work for the government. It's going to be great. No, it happens. So those are two main ones. So I want you to learn from what happened to me. The second major, I think it's a proverb, is because as you were just saying, who's going to take action? Well, the question is, or the proverb with the question is, when is the best time to plant a tree? Well, it was 20 years ago. The next best time is today. And so what I want you, I know you're going to be listening to Investing Secrets, and you could be one of two people. 20 years from now, you're thinking, my goodness, I really should have been listening to Danny and Dustin. I really should have got started doing something, investing, buying real estate, whatever it might be. I wish I would have done that. If I were there, I would do it all again. I would start now. You don't want to be that person in the future where it's like, I wish I would have.
Right.
20 years from now, you want to be the person that I'm so glad I listened to Danny's show every single week, kept going back and learning and getting more. And then I planted that investing tree today. Because if you started investing 20 years ago when I did, you'd be very happy, because now I'm very happy. I get lots of money coming in, lots of properties. I don't have to do a thing. And so what I want you to be realizing is, if you do not plant that tree right now, if you don't get started, there's never a better time than right now. And I'll say it this way. If you're investing in real estate, you do not wait to buy real estate. You buy real estate and then you wait. Because over time, you're going to make so much more money in cash flow, equity capture, which means you buy it for less than it's worth. Forced appreciation, you fix it up, make it worth more. That's how flippers make their money. You also get market appreciation. And this is great, Danny. Every 15 years, real estate doubles in value. And it's proven. Every 15 years, it's doubling. There'll be fluctuations, but every 15 years, it goes up. And then you also get mortgage buy down, where your tenants pay off the mortgage for you, and the principal, interest, all the insurance. In fact, I don't pay my taxes, insurance, property management, repairs. I don't pay for any of that stuff. Like, meaning I don't have to get a job to do that. I make sure all those expenses are accounted for before I buy the property. And that includes my passive income. If I know that I need to make $500 a month from every single family home that I buy, I make sure that's an expense line item. So I don't hope or guess if I'm going to make money. I know I'm going to make money because a couple of things. I account for all my expenses, and then I hire experts that are in there on the ground that do the work every single day. They're going to make sure that I buy the right properties. They make sure they tell me how much they're going to rent for, basically what's the income for that, as well as I know my expenses already. So I'm going to make that difference in passive income. And so a lot of people ask me, well, Dustin, how do you actually make sure that you're doing everything right? What it really comes down to, and I love sharing this, I say this all the time to all my students, podcasts and everything, is we build a business first. It could be a multifamily unit apartment complex. It could be single family homes, whatever it might be. We need to, and yeah, I'm the only person you'll probably ever hear say this. You need to stop being an investor, start being a business owner, which builds income. So stop being an investor, even though you invest your money. Don't get me wrong. You invest your money, which is 100% correct, but you need to have the mentality of a business owner. Let me give you a quick example. So let's say you had a candy bar business. Candy bar business, you every day, all day, you knew you could sell it for $1. But at the same time, you could buy it for 50 cents. You would buy as many candy bars as you could because you'll make 50 cents every single time. But what you would not do, you would not buy it for $1.50 if you could only sell it for $1 and hope that the value goes up to $2 so you can eventually sell it. You would never do that. What we do is we buy inventory, our properties are inventory, and we buy so that we make cash flow every single. That's how you get financial independence. Now, one quick last thing. The beautiful thing about real estate investing, just like the candy bar business, let's say you did not have 50 cents to buy that candy bar, but it cost you 25 cents to borrow the 50 cents. You're out of pocket, 75 cents. You still sell it for $1. You make 25 cents. You'll be thinking, how can I borrow more money? Because I just make more and more money when I have my business. So that's the big thing is we build a business. get experts to do it for us, and we become income builders, where we become people that put money into our pockets through income from all the businesses that we create. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. Well, at least it makes sense to me, So makes sense. It makes sense to me. And obviously, like, I do think that I would wager that the majority of individuals out there that seek to gain financial independence are not business people. Right? They're W-2 employees. And so it's hard to adopt a business principle mentality when you don't necessarily have that background, but it's not impossible. And it's funny because the most successful investors that I know that were W-2 employees, right, to begin with, and then kind of much like yourself, right, they had to learn to become good business people. Right. And so, like, if you want to be a good investor, like, you also have to be like knowledgeable when it comes to business. And that means like understanding basic principles of business. Like, yeah, I need to make sure that I'm profitable, right? I need to make sure that that the business, which you're talking about a house, right? You're saying, hey, I've got all these expenses. I've got my mortgage. I've got my taxes, my insurance, my maintenance fees, all these things. These are all expenditures. And I need to make sure that my top line revenue minus my expenditures, like, there's profit there at the end of the day, because most people just look at the top line and they're like, oh my gosh, look at all this money I'm making. But they don't realize, like, oh yeah, most of it goes to the lender and the this and the that. And then I'm left with this.
Absolutely. Right? And that's why I bake in my income into every property. That now I have 30 plus properties. I have short-term properties, long-term properties, mid-term. That's where you rent them 30, 60, 90 days, like traveling nurses and executives and all that sort of stuff. I have some properties making me $3,000 a month. That's income. That's not including expenses. That's income that I'm making. And it's because when you build a business, you make sure that you have that income coming in. And if you have a business, you're not going to guess at what your expenses are. Let me give you a quick example of what it looks like to build a business. So let's say you're going to start a convenience store, candy bars and soda machines, all that good stuff. Well, you would not sign a lease on a location, open the doors and set a box of candy bars in their ground. You wouldn't do that. You go out of business in 2 seconds. But what you would do is you would build the business first. You get the gondolas, those shelving units, and all the candy bars going on, the countertops, cold storage, bank accounts, cash registers, insurance, employees, everything in the business before you buy any inventory. Once you have that entire business built, then you buy the inventory. Same thing with real estate investing. Every piece of property that I own, especially the 2 large multifamily apartment complexes that I own, one's 350 units, one 325 units, both $35+ million. That's inventory. I don't look at it as a house that I'm going to live in. Same thing with my single family homes. These are all inventory. Now, here's the great thing. When you build the business first, you have the experts tell you which properties are bad ones that you should not buy. In fact, I get students to me all the time. They'll say, hey, Dustin, I was doing what those quote unquote TikTok gurus are telling me to do. I bought a property, spent thousands of dollars to fix it up, spent thousands of dollars to buy it, then tried to find a tenant, then tried to find a property manager, couldn't find a property manager. Every property manager I called, they said that they would not manage it because I'll get shot there. I'm like, oh, you no longer have an asset. You have a liability. Yeah. How much better would it be instead if you build the entire business, you get all the experts doing all the work for you before you buy properties. And so when you talk to a property manager, you build the business, in order to do it right, you're going to have these experts. And then instead of calling a property manager saying, manager, would you manage a property? And they say no, and you all get shot there. You've already spent all the time and money. Instead, you say, property manager, I'm looking to buy this property. Like, I want to buy this property. Tell me how much it will rent for. What's the vacancy factor, clientele like? Will you manage it? All those good questions. And they're going to tell you expertly, no, I won't manage it. That means you don't waste your time and money and energy on that. But if they tell you they will, they'll give you all the expert information for how much it will rent for, what the taxes are, all that good stuff. Then they're going to make sure that you do it right, because every single person in your business, they're experts on their own, like Redfin, Zillow, Trulia, Realtor. Those are websites. They're just databases. They're not experts. Who are the experts? It's the people that are on the ground working there every single day. In fact, one quick last thing I'll share. You'll know you'll have an expert when you call up a property manager, say, property manager, remember the key is, I'm looking to buy this property. Not, I already bought it. Say, I'm looking to buy this property. You ask them all the questions. The expert will say, oh, you know what? I know that city. Obviously, I that's my business. And I know that street. In fact, we have a property right around the corner, same size. Zillow was telling us we can get $1,600 a month for it. We tried, we couldn't. We could only get $1,450 for it. Well, that is expert information. If you went off of what Zillow says, $1,600, and you tried to make sure that you're running your business right, you didn't get expert information. That's $150 a month that you would be out because you just didn't know the right information. You didn't have the right information. But what we do is we build the business, then have the experts make sure we do everything right.
Yeah. And I think that ties in really nicely to like the idea, and you hear this a lot on business podcasts about, the idea between like hiring cheap versus hiring like A-level, like players, right? And in real estate, in this world, the cheap way to do it is the DIY. Oh, I'm going to manage the property. I'm going to be the electrician and I'm going to fix the toilets because I'm awesome. And I don't want to give the money away to like a property manager. Well, first of all, you just bought yourself a job. So it's not actually an investment. Second of all, you have delegated very important things to somebody who's not truly an expert, aka you, right? Now, there are plenty of property management companies out there that are horrible, right? So sometimes the experts aren't always better, but if you can find one who really is, then that's just one piece of the puzzle, right? But it's kind of that same mentality or that same taking that same approach, which is like, are we gonna do it the cheap way, or are we gonna like pay A players and just elevate, the business that way? Because if you hire A players, that frees up your mental energy to like go out there and figure out how can I do more of this, right? As opposed to like, I gotta paint this house, I gotta, tenants just left and I gotta get this thing painted in the next 5 days so that I can get new. God, what a nightmare, Dustin. I mean, I can't imagine a worse existence. Hey, I got to go in and like do all this work for this investment that I made. Not only did I sink hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, you have great points. I'll add one more that I ran into, and I'll be completely honest and say every single investor runs into this. So I try to do it the DIY, which, when you don't have much money and you're kind of thinking, well, I really want to get it started, and so I'm going to save and pinch every penny. Here's one thing that you'll run into. You can't scale if you're doing it all yourself.
Right.
In fact, I get so many people that come to me and say, Dustin, I've got 3 or 4 properties and I'm pulling my hair out because I'm managing the tenants, I'm managing contract, I'm doing all this work. I don't have time. I still have a full-time job, full-time family. How do I get past this? I say, this is what we do. We need to replace ourselves, and that's how we scale. And the way I teach all my students, like I said, over 1,000 students now, what I teach is what we do is we start from the very beginning doing the right way. Now, I will help, obviously, people who got 3 or 4 properties that didn't do it the right way. But if you start out doing it the right way, getting the experts to do it for you, that's how you scale. In fact, a lot of people have heard of the book, The 4-Hour Work Week. Great book and all. In fact, I think I got it right. I can't point. There we go, right there.
Somewhere there.
You can see the video, I'm pointing to it. It's a great book and all. And the premise is to make your life so that you only have to work 4 hours a week at your job. Well, honestly, I'll be completely honest, Danny. I think working 4 hours a week is for suckers. I don't want to work 4 hours a week. I don't even want to work 4 hours a month. I maybe work 30 minutes a month on all of the real estate that I own because I have experts do the work for me. And also, I taught my 16-year-old daughter who just bought her first property. So if I could do it, you could do it. If she could do it, you could especially do it. But so she bought her first property, and then I taught her to do all that 30 minutes of work that I used to do. She does it all now because what we do is we hire experts. We do all our work at the front, finding the right people. They make sure that everything's done right, and we just collect the money every single month. And one quick last thing I'll say, I love the idea because to get financial independence, for me, I asked my wife, I said, how much are our expenses every single month? And she said $4,200, mortgage, food, and all that sort of stuff. Well, I just really started doing the math. Okay, if I buy one home, that makes me $500 a month. That's $6,000 a year. It's not life-changing, but it's great. It's extra money I didn't have. And I thought, oh, this is just simple math. If I buy 10 properties that make me $500 a month, that's $5,000 every single month coming at $60,000 a year without working. I thought, all I got to do is get to 10 properties and I'm financially independent. 20 properties is $10,000 a month, $120,000 a year. 20 properties is $240,000 a year. And that was with $500 at the minimum. Over time, rents go up. In fact, homes that I bought back in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, the rents are double what they were now. I also have those properties paid off now. And so that's just cash flow coming in. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's insane how amazing real estate investing is.
Yeah. I mean, it's 100%, man. It's a beautiful thing. It really is a beautiful thing. Before we, guys, I don't want to gloss over this. I think that like, it's important to kind of dig into the weeds a little bit there. When you say get the right team in place, get the right people in place, let's give the audience some specifics here.
Totally. Yeah. So what I call it, so a lot of people would call it a team. And you can use the word, which is, I'm not saying it's negative at all, but I don't like it looking at it as a team. I'm building a business. So what I look at is I'm going to hire experts that are going to be a part of my business, not necessarily a team, because it's now my business. These are people that work for me. And if I have that mindset, I'm going to make sure I run my business like a business and not try to, sugarcoat things no, this is my business. In fact, my bosses are my wife and my kids. If I don't do my job right, my bosses won't get fed. And so I got to make sure I do it right. So what I look at it as, if we're going to be hiring experts, number one, we need to know what an expert looks like. But also number two, we need to know which experts we're going to need to get. So give you a quick example, property managers, contractors, plumbers, roofers, inspectors, mortgage brokers, realtors, wholesalers. Like, these are all people, and there's more, don't get me wrong, there's more, but these are all people that run the business. So those are the types of people, or people that are going to be doing those parts of our business. That's number one. But number two, on top of that, let's say we're going to go after a specific property manager. And before I get to there, you guys heard me tell the, list of different people to hire or to find in your business. The realtor was almost one of the last ones. People always, in fact, my students, so my podcast, the Master Passive Income podcast, the most downloaded or listened to shows, as well as the YouTube channel, the most watched videos, they are how to find properties and how to fund, or how to get money for properties. And I'm telling everybody, for you listening, those are the easiest parts of the business. Trust me, without a shadow of a doubt, money, I've used 18 different ways to get creative financing, basically not using my own personal money to buy real estate. That's number one. So I've got unlimited amounts of financing. So money's not the problem. If you have a good deal, the money will be there. Trust me. Your problem is lack of options. You don't know all these 18 different ways. So that's number one. But number two, if without having the finding of the properties, realtors are last. Wholesalers are last, because you need to make sure that you can make money over and over and over again, not just this one quick transaction. Realtors love quick transactions because they make money and they get in and out, which is fine. In fact, I never use realtors anymore because I'm a real estate investor. I am not necessarily a realtor. I am an investor. I use my own money and I find the properties for me, or let me scratch that. I'll say other people send me deals, wholesalers, investors, property managers. So quickly, getting back to your original question of how do we actually tactically build that right business, get the right people in there? But I kind of went on a tangent, like realtors and money, that's last. So don't worry, like finding and funding, we can get to those. That's actually very, very simple. The harder part is making sure that you have the right people that are going to, for the longevity of you owning the property, you're going to be making money. So let's say the property manager, which is your quarterback. The property manager is a quarterback of your business, just like your team, one of the most important people on your team. They're going to help you make money, protect your investment, find the right people. They're going to do everything for you. Mm-hmm. So in order to find the right property manager, in fact, I'll say this, this is the number one person. I do not invest in a city. I invest in 5 states now: Ohio, Texas, Arizona, Tennessee, and Indiana. And so I do not start a new location unless I find a property manager. I don't care
Sure.
about realtors. I don't care about any of that stuff. If I can't find an expert property manager, good ones, and you're 100% right. There's so many property managers that are terrible. They're absolutely terrible. It's hard to find a good one. But I do not invest in a city. In fact, I've tried to invest in cities and backed out because I couldn't find a good property manager. There probably were. I just couldn't find them. But the places that I invest in, I find the right property managers. And what I do also, so all my students, I give them 22 questions that they should ask a property manager and the answers of what they should be answering, like what to look for. Things like, what's your communication like? What's the minimum? Like, is 24 hours? Can you respond in 24 hours? Because for me, communication is key. If I ask a question like, hey, property manager, where's my money? And they don't respond for like 3 weeks, it's like, that's not good. So these types of questions, like, we have to vet the people. Just like if you're starting that convenience store, you're going to do all the work on your own, building an entire business. And then you see somebody walking across the street, say, hey, you got a pulse? Come in here and manage my money, manage my inventory, manage my company, manage my customers, manage all that stuff. You wouldn't do that. You would hire, and I love this. I don't know if I didn't create it, but but I love this saying, hire slow and then fire fast. Mm-hmm. So with every person in my real estate investing business, I take my time interviewing multiple property managers, multiple inspectors, multiple mortgage brokers, because I want to make sure I'm working with the right person. And so if they screw up, I'll give them a second chance. If they screw up a second time, I fire them and get somebody else right away. So that's what we do is when we're finding experts, just like if we're doing any business, remember, stop being an investor, be a business owner. And then you hire the experts that are going to run the business for you.
Yeah, I love that, man. And I think it's imperative to have a success, not just a successful investment portfolio, like you said, successful business, right? I like that you frame it like that, because honestly, like I said before, the investors who don't really come into this space with a business background learn very, very fast, right? And it's something that I've noticed time and time again. Well, man, we're coming up on time here. Honestly, like I had so many questions for you that we did not get to today, and I'm like, might have to have you on a second time at some
Anytime,
point.
man.
But yeah, would love to do that. But I have one that I can't not ask you, and then we'll go into the fun. So, have you ever invested outside of real estate? Have you ever invested a penny into stocks, into crypto, like any of the other asset classes, right? Like, or are you 100% concentrated in real estate?
So yes, I have in the past invested in things outside of real estate. And in fact, my first things, I thought I was going to, do stocks in college in 2001 when the stock market was doing great and then it crashed. I didn't know what I was doing. I've tried it at least 3 times to invest in stocks. In fact, I realized something about myself, Danny. I'm very good, very, very good when it comes to stocks at buying high and selling low, which is the opposite. It's the opposite. I always buy high and always sell low, even when, because I tell myself, Dustin, you always buy high, you always sell low. You would normally sell now. So you should buy more. No, that's still the wrong answer. I'm terrible. I've lost a lot of money doing that. But then I realized when I'm buying a stock, what I'm doing is I'm hoping for the value to go up, or I'm hoping for it to go down. I have no control on it whatsoever. But my real estate that I own, the businesses, I have 4 businesses now, I can control those. But then when you're investing in a stock, all you are investing in somebody else's business. So I learned from my mistakes. And now all my money goes back into my own businesses. Like, do you think Elon Musk, do you think he has a mutual fund? Absolutely not. Do you think he invests in other people's stocks and companies? I don't think so, because he keeps very little cash. He says that, and he puts it all in his own businesses. So, and same thing with Warren Buffett. He's smart. He knows where to put the money, and so for me, I realized like crypto, I've tried crypto. I've lost my crypto. In fact, I bought Bitcoin back when it was $7,000, and then it dropped to $4,000. Like, crap, I better sell it. And then it went back up. Now it's what, 110,000, whatever. I'm just not, but real estate, because it's a business and it moves very slow, meaning all of a sudden it doesn't drop in value, but I always make money every single month. Like crypto, you can't make money every single month. You might try to, but can you make $500 a month every single month from one stock that you buy? No, you have to spend let's say $1 million just to get that much money into stock. So yes, I have, and then realized I am just very, very terrible at everything else other than real estate.
Yeah. I think it's a valuable insight though. It's like, hey, not everyone has like. I know some guys that are like all stock market all day and like, I would never touch one of my literally like my best friend, crypto guy, will not touch real estate. He's like, I'm not investing in that crap ever again. And I'm like, dude, you're gambling with internet money, dude.
Exactly. You're 100% right. And so I'm going to say something that crypto people hate. It's literally nothing. There's no tangible thing behind it. In fact, if the power goes out, you're not going to be able to spend that. So that's something that you should be thinking, oh, the power will never go out. Everything's going to be great. Everything's hunky-dory forever. I'm like, maybe you're right. I love owning tangible things that will not go away unless, the world blows up. Yeah.
Well, and to be fair, I do believe in some level of diversification. I think having it, to your point, right? Like power, right? So crypto guys dead in the water, but like at the same time, like, a nuke, I mean, I hate to say it, but like a nuke gets dropped somewhere, all the real estate's gone, and then you're out, like it's done, right?
There's worse problems than the real estate.
Well, yeah, at that point we probably got, exactly. But that's a very extreme example. I guess the point is though, like that there some level like there's diversification, I think makes a lot of sense. It's interesting though, and I don't know if you knew this, Dustin, and then we'll wrap up right after this. I don't know if you knew this, but the average American has over 90%, I believe it's over 95% of their investable assets in the stock market, the average American. The top 0.1% have only 30% of their investable assets in the stock market, and nearly 50% in alternatives, which includes real estate. It includes private equity, venture capital. It includes crypto, right? We could loop that in there. Then there's other, like
there's just much better ways. Yeah,
correct. Yes. Yeah, there are much better ways. What were you going to say? I cut you off there.
Yeah, no, totally. Much better ways to make money, and it's because the top 1%, they understand how to make money in different ways. For honestly, and you said this at the very beginning, there are some people that are working a job, and I'll be completely honest and say 75%, maybe even 80% of the population should be working a job. They're perfect. They're going to love it. They're going to have a fantastic life working a job. But not the people listening to your podcast, not the people listening to my podcast. We know there's something better out there. It's just we've been programmed, just like that story I told you. We're all programmed to go to school, get good grades, get in thousands of dollars in debt in college, and all that sort of stuff, and get a career, quote unquote career. So we're all taught that. But for you listening, you're more than likely realizing that there's more out there. And other people, they can go that route of working a job and then hopefully living on Social Security, which might go away eventually. But instead, what us 20% that's listening to your podcast, is my podcast of me and you, what we do is we find better ways to invest our money, and we learn that and we implement that. Some people, like I have good friends, amazing at stocks. They crush it. They do all the options. They do this, that, and the other. I don't know any of that stuff. I tried. I suck at it, so I don't do it anymore, but they're amazing. I'm like, well, it's so much better than working at JOB, working at and living just over broke. So they're so like diversifying. Like I have friends that do crypto. They love crypto and they're great at it. Like that's fantastic. So for me, what it comes down to, I just want everybody to be successfully unemployed, basically not working for somebody else, or as many people as can hear my voice that want to do, like the 20%, and the people listen to your show, listen to my show. I just want them to realize there's more to life out there.
Yeah, 100%, man. Well, Dustin, it's been great having you, man. And thank you for being the first guest on the newly rebranded Investing Secrets podcast. I didn't even drop that there at the beginning, but I was excited that we got to do this. But I used to say, hey, in traditional gold mine fashion, leave us with a gold nugget, but like, it's not a gold nugget anymore. I'm trying to come up with like a clever name for this. Clearly I prepared for this, but leave the audience with one last, like your tip top, like X-File investing secret.
Yeah. Okay. So What I would say is be determined. Now, the reason why I say that, because I could say, oh, just get started or just buy your first property. And I could say a bunch of different things like get passive income. Those are all great, but be determined, because there will be times in whatever asset class you're going after, could be stocks, could be real estate, whatever it might be, the time gets tough and life starts getting in the way. I have 5 kids now, but if you are determined, and I love the another term, it's delayed gratification. So for 6 or 7 years, I didn't go on vacation. I didn't go out to eat. I just saved every penny because I knew, I was like 30 years old when I first got started doing that, or when I really started applying it. I knew every penny that did not go to another property was another day, month, year, whatever, longer for me to become financially independent. I'm so glad that I was determined. When those hard times came, I kept pushing. Then at the same time, I put off for the future great things that I could be somewhat good right now, like go on a vacation, go this, that, there. I realized if I am permanently on vacation from my job because I am successful and employed, that's even better. So delay gratification and be determined, because in the end, it's all worth it. Trust me, I've been self-employed or successful employed for 10 years now. It is so amazing. A couple of things, not ever having to work a job. Also, not having a mortgage payment. That's just amazing. Another thing, not having to look at the price when I go out to eat with my wife. Like, I don't have to look at that, so I don't have to worry about that stuff. Trust me, life is so much more amazing if you put delayed gratification, work your tail off. In fact, one quick last thing I'll say, I would go to work. No, sorry, let me say, I wake up at 4:30, go to the gym from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, go to my business. I had a business at the time. I would open that up and then get the employees going. And then I would go to my job, work 8+ hours. And then I would go back to my business back like at 5 o'clock, close it down, go home by 7 o'clock, eat dinner, kiss my wife and kids, go to sleep, and do it all over again. I did it for years, 5 years, 4 or 5 years, whatever it might be, just over and over again, because I knew my life is going to be dramatically different in the future. So now from 36, 37 years old, I never worked a job again. It's so much better now.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. No, and I think I like the word determined because, it's never easy, right? Like if it were easy, everyone would do it. But but having that determination and that resiliency really does go a long way. Thanks again, Dustin. This has been great, man. And looking forward to having you on again.
Absolutely, buddy. Would you mind if I gave everybody a course for free?
Oh, please. Yes. Yes, absolutely. And everything that you're about to say right now will also be linked in the description down below, but take it away.
Awesome. Yeah. So my mission in life now is to help 1 million people to invest in real estate. And hopefully you are one of them. If you're listening to Danny's show, you 100% are the right fit because you know there's something better out there. So if you text the word rental, RENTAL, rental to 33777, rental to 33777, or you can go to masterpassiveincome.com/free course, all one word, /free course. And I will give you my course. I get so many people investing just from this free course where I show you how to find a property anywhere in the country and invest, how to build the business first, how to make sure you make enough money to eventually become financially independent. I give that to you. You can even check me out on my Master Passive Income podcast. It's like 90% a solo show, me just teaching, coaching how to do this stuff. And then one quick last thing. I love, I've been getting really having a lot of fun in Instagram. So you can reach out to me, the Dustin Heiner, THE, Dustin Heiner on Instagram too. I've got over 225,000 followers now organically. I didn't buy any of those. It's just fun helping people.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. No, you're crushing it, bro. And yeah, your podcast, it was one, like I said, it was one of the first ones that I ever listened to, when I first started getting into real estate investing and it's been awesome to see your growth and look forward to continuing to see you crush it, man.
I love it. And anytime you want to have me on a show, buddy, I'll be there.
All right. Sounds like a plan. Thank you.